What is up, everybody? We are back. Baseball is back. It is a beautiful day outside. The Mets still are in last place, so it is a great day to be here in New York. Rossi, how's everything? How was your weekend? How was the first weekend of baseball for you?
Very nice, entertaining. Loved it.
Absolutely. We had a lot of surprises, some not so much. Anyone that's been following us, some of the things we said have started to look like they're going to pan out, and some we're probably going to be wrong about constantly. So whatever, it is what it is. But Ross, we did a bunch of drafts first weekend. Some leagues used a short week, some continue. How are you looking in your leagues?
Well, it all depends on the league that we're in. Well, the two leagues that we're in. Actually, we're in three leagues together. But
yeah, we are.
Let's go with one league. I'm in 2-2. It's not too bad. My Roto League, American League only, dead last place.
Nice.
But a lot of injury.
Right where I like you. Last place.
Your league, I'm in first place so far.
Yeah, so far. We haven't had we're moving.
This is, it all depends on how your team panned out the first week and injuries and stuff like that. So
absolutely, yes, absolutely.
We have.
What's up, Johnny boy? Yeah, I know. We're not talking about the sixth most favorite sport in the world, hockey. But yeah, yeah. I mean, a bunch of surprises from the weekend. We're gonna kind of get into it. We're gonna jump right into it. So normally, today's a little bit of a different spin. Normally, the games are going to start 6:30 and on. We did have a couple of day games today. I know a couple of teams are still catching up and whatnot, but we're going to get into it. So, Ross, let's talk about top free agents available right now. We're looking at things for who's on here, who's out there that literally is worth the time of getting, basically. I know you have a couple guys we'll share who's at the top of your free agent list right now that shouldn't be available but is.
Well, you have it all depends on the size of the league. I mean, if you have a typical 12-team, 25, 26 rounds, more than likely Michael Taylor could have gotten drafted late. If he didn't, he's a guy that is in a great lineup. He's batting in the middle of the order, 6th, 7th place. He can be really good. He can have a good season only because he's in a great lineup. I like Michael Taylor on Kansas City.
All right. I mean, yeah, Kansas City's been there. A lot of surprise teams came out. We joked around about it when we were going through our divisions. Las Vegas gave Baltimore Orioles 0% chance of making the playoffs. I think they got insulted. Open up the season with a 3-game sweep of the Boston Red Sox. I mean, we didn't think that Boston would be a huge powerhouse, but it's still impressive for them to pull off a 3-game sweep in Boston, nonetheless.
Well, Boston is just listen. It's only the weekend, but Boston didn't show up. Baltimore, they can always hit. It's their pitching that's always the concern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see as a pitcher, no one ever looked to pick up Cesar Valdez, the closer. He could be the guy that closes out. Now, even on a bad team, a bad team wins 60 to 70 games. Out of that, if the closer gets 30 saves, he's good. So Valdez can get you. He can be a key factor for you, Valdez, if he remains the closer, and he should. If he remains the closer, he should get up near 30 saves.
Hey, listen, a broken clock is right twice a day. One of the guys that for me this weekend that was honestly, as far as getting value, like you were saying with Valdez, for me is going to be Manuel Margot on Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great weekend. Again, we're not telling you to sell the farm for these guys, but these are guys that are or should be readily available on your free agent list. We're going to guide you to kind of the guys who you should be looking at. Margot goes, 4 for 10, has a home run, 2 RBI, 3 runs scored, and a triple. Not bad for an opening weekend from a guy that wasn't on many people's radars to start the season. He's been kind of a journeyman. I know that he was in San Diego for a little bit, among other places, but a nice start for him for the weekend.
There's going to be players that are going to be available always. Free agents that can make or break your team, in the sense where you're not going to find the superstar, but you can find that guy that was overlooked and can have a really good year.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's one guy I like, Jed Lowry. Second base.
As you said that, every Mets fan just cringed.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because he's out of the game 2 years. He's the starting second baseman now of Oakland. He's going to play every day. He's got the capability of having a really good season. He was definitely overlooked in every single draft.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's played more games this season than he's played in his entire Mets career.
I picked him up in 2 leagues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we were looking at before we got on the air. I was looking at a couple different websites, and just to kind of see who, most added, most dropped, and most websites, that you guys are using will have some sort of list. Right now, surprisingly, top 3 added players. Mackenzie Gore is number 3, but I'm not going to include him because he's a minor leaguer, so I'm sure that people are picking him up after the fact for keeper purposes. But Dylan Cease, Manuel Margot, and Luis Arraez, who was my pick to finish the league with the best average. So definitely some decent names. And I'll be honest with you, on the most dropped list, I'm shocked by the number 1 name on here, and we're gonna get into him in a little bit. Shohei Ohtani was the most dropped player this weekend.
Ohtani,
but now this, I guess, splits it. So Ohtani. This is across all sites. Ohtani, the hitter, was the most dropped player. He's only owned, the hitter for Ohtani is only owned in 65% of leagues right now, and 14% of the teams dropped Ohtani this weekend, which is insane.
Well, you have to remember this, Joe.
You can only start him in one of the 2 places.
Like ours, they only start him in 1 league. So probably most people are putting him at starting pitcher and removing him from their hitting lineup.
Which sucks because
that's why that could be most dropped.
But
he's a phenomenal hitter.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that sucks, that rule, because for a game like last night, for those who didn't see it, this guy is throwing 101 and then absolutely annihilates a ball first pitch. He's hitting and pitching in the same game. I mean, I think a rule like that is crazy. It's something that we have never seen in our lifetime. I think they said this is the first time in 100 and something years it's happened. So, I mean, at some point, do you think a rule change is worth it for a guy like him that is going to hit and pitch in the same game? Because, it hurts me on a daily league where I can only start him for 1. So let's just say, he gets shelled pitching, but he crushes it hitting. I lose out. If I draft a player, I should be able to get all of his stats, not one half or the other.
Well, the thing is this. You have a league that starts pitchers and starts hitters. So he's the only player that's
correct.
A pitcher or a hitter. So how can you have this guy do both? If you do have a league that says, okay, next year we're going to change the rules. He's going to be a hitter. He's going to be a pitcher. He's the number 1 pick off the board. Who's going to be a better pick than him off the board? No one.
I mean, but that's the thing, is that he is a player that we've never seen. He's doing something that in our lifetime we've never seen, and I feel that on the fantasy aspect of it, I feel that the owners of him are kind of gypped because they can't utilize all of his stats. Because you got to remember, yes, would he be the number 1 pick off the board? Sure, but the problem is that also he pitches only once every 5 days. So it's not where he's going to be pitching every day. So you want the hitting stats.
Where did Garrett Cole come off the board in most drafts?
Late to end of round 1.
Okay, so that's a starting pitcher that's going in the first round.
Right.
Now, as a hitter, where did Ohtani go? Let's say Ohtani is.
I'd say probably 3rd, 4th round, somewhere in that range.
Let's just say 4th round, for argument's sake.
Right.
So now you got a 4th round hitter,
right,
and potentially, let's just say a 4th round pitcher.
right.
So you combine them. That's not worth the first pick overall.
100%. I'm not.
So that's what I'm saying. You can't. So if you get the luck of the draw that you get number 1 in the draft, you get the best player.
That's how it should be.
Well,
that's how it should be.
Listen,
just like I got the first pick in the draft, and I got the best player. He hasn't played yet, but I got the best
your
player.
opinion. I wouldn't have taken him number 1, but when it comes to number 1, there's a consensus of 4 or 5 guys that these guys could all be number 1.
Yeah, well, the guy I really wanted, I didn't realize was somehow, some way a keeper by some ungodly known reason that Fernando Tatis is a keeper because he was drafted after the 18th round last year. God, if I would have known that was,
we held
before
from 2 years ago, so that's why Tatis was a keeper because he was held 2 years ago. He was drafted late 2 years ago.
Insane, absolutely insane.
But for me, like I said, there is only one number 1 pick.
Yeah,
Trout.
Yeah, well,
that's it. So
my boy's gonna take him over this year. He's gonna show him that he is no longer the rule of the roost.
I understand. There may be someone who has a better year than him, but consistently, every year in and year out, he's MVP or top 5 in MVP every single year for the past 10 years. So how do you have a guy like that? It's consistency. What I'm trying to say, Joe, is this: you can play the lotto and say, I know who the number 1 guy is going to be, because if you look at every single year, the number 1 guy is not really number 1 pick.
Absolutely.
No one ever picks the top guy. There's always a different top guy.
100%.
So
my thing is,
Joe, what I'm trying to say is, with your first pick, you got to try to pick someone who's going to be top 10. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I mean, but listen to the same thing. You know, with our draft, I had number 1 and 2, so I went Soto, Acuna, right? Trout didn't go until 4,
which doesn't make sense.
Trout didn't go through 4. I'll be honest with you. If I would have went by consensus of ADPs and all of that, you know, the average draft position, I would have taken Mookie Betts with one of my first 2 picks, because Mookie Betts was on top of every list I looked at.
Definitely.
You know, but whatever. But speaking of someone who's going to be on top of lists, okay, a little segue right there. You want to talk about an insane weekend, okay? And someone who probably, as of 6:15 p.m. on Monday, is not available on your free agent list. We're going to Chicago, and we're going to be talking about Yermin Mercedes. This guy had some weekend. Started off the season 8 for 8. Fell back a little bit last night, but he's batting .643. He's 9 for 14. He's DH, but Ross, he's catcher eligible. Depends
what league. Some leagues.
In some leagues, he's catcher eligible, and that's huge.
Right.
That's huge.
I mean, listen, Yermin Mercedes was off of everyone's list because
100%.
No one knows who the hell he is and what he's going to do. So, I mean, a guy like that, you know, you jump to the waiver wire and you say, I got to have him on my team just in case he keeps it up. But there are so many players.
Absolutely. But it's baseball's all about trends. We've spoken about it. Mm-hmm. It's ebbs and flows. You jump on. Listen, I grabbed him in one of my leagues. You grab him, try to ride it out, see what he gives you. If he gives you any semblance of this, listen, in the league that I got him, my catcher stinks, and he's catcher eligible. So for me, he's a guy that's going to wind up staying in my lineup because it's still going to be better than what I was getting from my catcher anyway. Unless you have one of those top tier catchers, okay, anything is going to be better than what most catchers are going to produce.
No, for that, Joe, that was excellent because obviously the guy can hit. Now, is he going to hit at this pace? No. Is he going to be a 300 hitter? Maybe even if he's not a 300 hitter. But if you can get a guy who's a 260, 270, 280 hitter and get you 20 home runs, and that guy's in your catcher position, you score tremendously.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, this can't be. And whatever, like I said, it's yeah, it was definitely a steal for me. I liked it. But Ross, we spoke about a couple guys. I know you said Michael Taylor. Who was the other guy that kind of this weekend caught you by surprise that you're seeing on a lot of free agent lists?
Well, I see Schumacher on Minnesota. He had a nice game today. That's definitely a guy. I like to pick up guys who have talent, who had bad years, who can possibly do what they did before. So that's why I think Schumacher is a nice little pickup. He's been good before. He's on a great team. Minnesota is going to get you a lot of wins just because their lineup is great. So if Schumacher pitches good, I mean, obviously he has no pressure. They have Berrios at the top. So they're not going to be – Schumacher's not going to have pressure to be the stud. Kenta Maeda's their number 2. I just think Minnesota's a really good team. Schumacher could do well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a solid addition. Speaking of pitchers, my last. Well, I'm going to save that for best performance of the weekend. Speaking of pitchers, let's go into one of the biggest things. So a lot of people, again, with fantasy, it's all about planning, it's schematics, and we're playing each other this week, and the first thing out of your mouth, besides I'm going to kick your ass, is that you have 4 pitchers going on one day. Mm-hmm. So it's all about planning and strategy. So one of the big things is the 2-start. The 2-start pitchers. This week you have a couple of guys that are monster names going 2 starts. You got Garrett Cole getting 2 starts this week against Baltimore and Toronto. Okay. Well, he already did the Baltimore one, the Toronto one, excuse me. So this one actually takes into consideration it's a full 10-day schedule for the first week. Bieber, Bauer, Giolito, Buehler, Nola, Darvish, basically the run of the mill.
You're going with the 10 game, Joe. Every single pitcher is going to have 2 games. Every single pitcher.
No, yeah, I just figured that. That's why I stopped running off the names. But moving forward, that's a huge stat that you're going to look for. Is you want those 2 steps, even if it's a guy that's a middle of the road guy. Getting those 2 starts is big because some leagues I know have innings. You have to have a certain amount of innings pitched or a certain amount of bats to qualify. So those are really big as far as like on the 2 start positions.
I would say this, Joe, with the 2 start pitchers, depending on what league you're in. If you're in a points league that doesn't give you minus for losses, then those 2 start pitchers are great to pick up. But there are leagues that give you a minus 10 for a loss. Yes, they're going to give you 25 points for a win, but if you pick up a scrub just because he's pitching 2 games, you have to figure it's not more a likelihood to win. What was his likelihood to win 1 game anyway? If the guy is going to be a pitcher that's only going to get you 6 to 8 wins, he may not even get you a win that 1 week when you put him right. So I would say that's a good scenario for a points league, or if you're looking to get rid of a category in a roto league. Like you don't care about whip and ERA, you want wins and strikeouts. Now you go get your 2 start pitchers.
Correct. Makes sense. So we're going to go into a little segment that we're going to do every week now. So obviously we have our show Monday, we have our show Wednesday. So Monday we're going to be coming out of the weekend. So a lot of baseball to kind of recap and everything. So one thing that I would like to do, we're going to go into is weekend's best performance. Okay. Someone that kind of jumped out at you, overall performance that weren't expecting or just went above and beyond. And for me, we spoke about it. For me, it's going to be the Philadelphia Phillies pitching staff. They shut down arguably one of the best offenses the entire weekend. They gave up a total of 3 runs the entire weekend. And, Hector Neris coming out of the bullpen, not exactly your household name for closers, really solid. The Phillies last year, their biggest, I heard a stat the other day watching the game. Last year, they did not have a single game where their bullpen did not give up a run consecutive games. They went 3 games without giving up a run. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Eflin pitched phenomenal. So kudos to the Philadelphia Phillies pitching staff this weekend. They get my best performance of the weekend.
The thing is this: you can't go crazy over what happens in early April. A lot of people, when they're doing fantasy, forget that it's a long season.
Oh, absolutely.
And right now, the weather is cold. So a lot of especially the Spanish players used to playing in hot weather their entire life. Now, South American players, they're used to hot weather. It takes them time to get going, except if your name is Nelson Cruz. But
yeah, he doesn't get the guy. The guy is just a machine.
But
a absolute machine.
A lot of players, even it doesn't matter Spanish, not. I find that I always look for that. Those guys that start slow. Generally, there are your players that are first half players and second half players. You have to look to. You don't get discouraged by bad performance.
So I shouldn't trade Ronald Acuna after this weekend?
Well, of course, and if Philly plays Atlanta another 15, well, they are going to play another 18 games. I mean, Philly can win, but are they going to shut them out the way they did?
No, of course not. That's why I'm just highlighting, a great performance this weekend. It's something, honestly, if you would have told me beginning of the series that Philly would have only given up 3 runs, and 2 of them would have been to Pablo Sandoval on a pinch hit home run, and the other one to Travis d'Arnaud, I would have called you insane. I would have I would have bet any amount of money that wasn't going to happen, and I would have lost.
I would have been with you. I would have been with you. I would have been the same thing. I would have never figured Atlanta's only scoring 3 runs, one run a game. So
yeah, I mean it's sick.
It was a great performance. So you're right.
Yeah. So who anyone jump out off the page to you that for the weekend that was a great performance, something that you thought, even if it's someone that you expected?
I mean, I would say, like we said earlier, the way Baltimore just spanked Boston. And it's
Absolutely.
Not because we're Yankee fans and we don't like Boston. That's not that. I'm not saying it for that. No.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
But Baltimore, that was totally unexpected. Philly sweeping was unexpected, but if you said Philly went 2-1, all right, it's a division, that can happen. They got great pitching. But Baltimore sweeping Boston, come on. Nobody ever could have picked that.
Right.
That was nuts.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm nervous. The Yankees are playing a first-place team tonight. I don't know if we're going to be able to handle this. We're getting nervous.
Yankees didn't have a series against Toronto.
They did not. And I will say this. So I was listening this morning on the ride home from work, listening to ESPN, and they brought up a great point. This is coming as a Yankee fan, okay? This is coming as a Yankee fan. My thing is this. Yankee fans, you need to calm down a little bit. You guys are a little too eccentric, a little bit. Listen, I understand that the trade for Giancarlo Stanton has not panned out, the way we all expected it to. But I will say this. A, we did not give up much to get him. We're paying him a shit ton of money. But the fact that there are fans, after the postseason he had last year, probably the only player to play well in the postseason, you booed this guy out of the building for 3 straight games, the first 3 games of the season. This is why nobody likes to play in New York. This is why Sonny Gray was a very good starter in Oakland, comes to New York, couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat, goes to Cincinnati, and he becomes a pitcher again.
Yeah.
Honestly, fans, listen, fans is the short for fanatic, but you have to calm down. You cannot, listen, I understand these guys get paid millions and millions of dollars to play a game. I understand that. But if you don't think at some point constant booing and constant negative everything, energy affects these guys, you're out of your mind. They are human after all. They are human beings. They still hear what the media says. They read your tweets. They hear you telling them to go F off from the stands, from the bleachers. These guys are human. They hear it. And when you pair that up with crappy playing, it does not. It really messes up your mental.
Well, like I always said, baseball is a mental game. It's always
100%.
I'm not a fan that's going to boo my own team. I've never done it before, and I find it myself to be silly for you to go to a game and boo your own team, especially if the team is good. But I'm not going to say to anyone that you're going to a game and you're booing your team. You pay for the ticket. Do whatever you want.
Do whatever the hell you want to do, but just
if that's what you feel like doing, I think that it's a good idea to boo your own team. And the person that's booing the team is a person that's a Yankee fan who wants the Yankees to do well. They just don't realize booing the player doesn't help. So,
no.
I mean, could it be a lack of intelligence a little bit that makes the person boo their own team? It could be. I'm not saying that. Or it's just high emotions. It's high emotions.
Listen, absolutely. You're invested. You know, this is the first game that fans have been in Yankee Stadium and since 2019. So I get it. It was pent up. But like,
you're at a game, Joe. When you're at the game, I know what it is. I see it's, when you go to a game, obviously you've been there. The fan wants to hit every single at bat.
Yeah, they don't understand.
When you see Steven up there and he has his bat on his shoulder and he's hacking down at balls and he's not. I mean, it's not Stanton can hit you 40, 50 home runs.
100%.
He has hit a lot of home runs in Yankee Stadium. But for the Yankees, it's always, what have you done for me right now? Have you gotten a hit every single at bat? No. Oh my God, you suck. So,
but that's it. I mean, and that's the problem with being a Yankee fan is that you get these. Listen, I don't know if you watched the first game, okay? If you watch the first game, Gary Sanchez comes to the plate, immediately boos. Immediately boos.
I know. Makes no sense.
Then he blasts one 450 yards, and everyone's going nuts, screaming he's their favorite player again.
Yeah, I love you. I love you.
And then he hits one the next game. Oh my God, Gary Sanchez is back. He's the greatest catcher of all time. Yeah. He's better than Yogi Berra.
Next week, after he strikes out 3 times in one game, he's going to get.
And then he's like, "Oh, this bum. He doesn't know how to catch. He doesn't." It's crazy, but it's like, it really makes you think: Do players? Okay, and I'm going to use our friend Trevor Bauer. Okay, do you think stuff like that plays a role with free agents?
100%, 100%. People know that it's hard to come to play in Yankee Stadium. It's hard to play in Boston. It's hard to play in Philly. You can't. The fans get on you. People know that, and if you're not tough-skinned, you're not going to go play in those places. So now a lot of players, when they're free agents, they look at the money and they say, "Who's giving me more money? I'm going to go there. I can do it. But then they come here and they can't do it. So
Correct.
free agents do know where the easier crowds are, where the softer crowds are. People get booed at every stadium. Every stadium has boo birds.
Absolutely. I really believe, though, I really truly do believe that was maybe not the deciding factor, but one of the deciding factors for Bauer going to the Dodgers over the Mets. And you could see it. He gets so sensitive when people go after him on social media or anything. Like, he gets very defensive. He would have gotten destroyed in New York. Destroyed. They would have eaten him alive. And I think him going out to LA where they're more like kind of lax, and I mean, yeah, the defending champs, but he can still do what he has to do and fly under the radar per se on that team, even with that obnoxious contract. But I really do believe that we had this discussion today at work. I really do believe that has a huge factor because the laundry list of players that have come here that were successful everywhere else and have failed miserably here is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And like the list is, you have an all-star team.
Remember that you also have players that don't do it anywhere else, then come here and do well playing in Yankee Stadium. Because, I mean, in essence, it could be a motivational tactic for a player to get booed, to light a fire under their ass, or it could be something that diminishes their psyche and says, do I really suck and I can't hit, and it gets to them. So I mean, it all depends on the strength of the player. A lot of people thrive here, and then you got those players that just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, and we're speaking of New York, in just about 3 minutes, the Lord and Savior of the Mets, Mr. Jacob deGrom, is going to take the mound. The Mets finally open up this season. I know that they were supposed to open up on Friday, but due to COVID with the Nationals, they got pushed back, so they're playing the Phillies.
You can't say anything bad about deGrom.
I can't. I'll be honest with you. I'm still.
If you want to berate the Mets, I understand that.
Yeah,
you can berate
I'm
the
still.
Mets.
I'm still recovering from the wackos that we drafted with that took two. Well, it's your farm team that did it, but he took 2 pitchers ahead of deGrom and gifted someone with the 10th pick in the second round, Jacob deGrom, and it happened to be a Mets fan too, nonetheless. Yeah. But I'm still mind boggled. But that's forget about that. No, listen, you can say whatever you want about deGrom. I think that deGrom is the difference between deGrom and Cole. We've spoken about it. Their numbers are very similar. Okay, the biggest thing that gives Cole the edge is going to be the wins. Okay. He gets more wins than deGrom. So my thing is that this year there's a lot of expectations with the Mets. Could this be the year that deGrom challenges Cole for, he's already considered the best pitcher in New York by Mets fans. Okay. He's considered that, but is this the year that deGrom takes the mantle as best pitcher in fantasy baseball if the Mets live up to their expectations, which we both know they're not?
I tell you the truth. If deGrom was on the Yankees and we had Cole and deGrom, and I have to pick the pitcher who I think is going to do better,
I'm taking deGrom.
I'm going to pick deGrom. Now, he hasn't gotten wins because he hasn't pitched good. He pitches lights out. The Mets don't score when he runs. He's losing games 1-0, 2-1, 2-0. He's pitching good enough to win. Now, this year, I really think the Mets have a solid hitting team, and this is the year that deGrom gets up there to that 18, 19, 20 win plateau. I mean, he could even exceed that. deGrom is a beast.
Right. No, absolutely. He's absolutely a beast. Listen, I there's a lot of things I'd like to say about him, but I can't really talk too much poop about him. He's a solid guy. I mean, tonight Yankees have Garrett Cole on the mound. No, not tomorrow. It's Garrett Cole. Tonight's Jordan Montgomery. Speaking of the Yankees, not a great weekend. Not a great weekend hitting. If anything, if it
wasn't great hitting or it wasn't great pitching. I mean,
yeah, no. If I took anything, if I want to take a positive, and I don't want to just focus on New York teams, but if I'm going to take a positive from the New York teams, for the Yankees, it's going to be that bullpen. Loizaga and King had a great weekend. Wasn't expecting much out of Kluber. Had a little bit more of an expectation for Herman coming off of the spring that he had. He just looked a little flat. The changeup was sitting a little bit higher, but I think that, like you said, that also comes with the cold. They're pitching in Florida, coming up to the cold. It's everything hurts a little bit more. The snap of the finger hurts a little bit more. So I think we'll be okay. Kluber looked good the first 2 innings and then kind of fell off. We'll see what we get out of Montgomery tonight. And then
I really do think that Kluber's going to have a big year this year.
I think if he can stay consistent 5-6 innings, I'm not expecting this guy to go deep into it. We have a bullpen to take care of it. I think if he can go five innings and just keep us in the game, I think that he'll be more than worth his contract. I'll be honest with you, the game that I'm most intrigued by is going to be Wednesday. I'm really, really excited to see Jameson Taillon pitch. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Against, obviously it's against the Baltimore Orioles, who we've legitimately, I hate to use it, but we've legitimately owned them for the last however many years. So, Gleyber Torres, he's going nuts right now because I think he hit like 55 home runs against them last year or something like that. It's just insane. But players, Ross, that this weekend, players to drop. I mean, is there anyone to say that after this weekend's performances that you were kind of iffy on them? Your late round guys that you picked up. Is there anyone that you saw that maybe, just maybe, you can let them fly and then potentially pick them up off the waiver wire a little bit later down the road?
The only guys that you can put in a category that of that sort would be someone who was drafted 20 rounds and up. Other than that, I mean, those are guys you're taking a shot on anyway, so they flip-flop off your roster. Is there someone that I drafted earlier that I think, you drafted them earlier because you thought they were going to have a good year, and there's a chance that they're going to have a good year. 4 days, a 4-day weekend is not going to make me drop a player.
No, I get that. I mean, for one guy, I'll give you my example. Someone that I had in one of my leagues. I drafted him late. I think Father Time has finally caught up to him. Adam Wainwright looked god awful. I cut him loose. I was able to pick up a couple guys that I thought would be a better fit for my team.
But you didn't expect that. You took a shot with him at the end of the draft.
Yeah,
you took a shot with him. So those are your droppable guys.
Correct.
It's not going to be any one particular guy.
I would drop Trevor Bauer, but that's just me.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say, Joe? For everyone's team, you really can't generalize on a person. You can just tell someone it's your guys you took a shot with at the end of the draft. If you took a shot with Jose Iglesias at shortstop on Anaheim, he's a guy that he could be good. He's solid. He's never had a great season. Would I drop him to pick up Taylor or to pick up Valdez or to take a shot on Mercedes? Yes, that's the kind of guy. But it's always a late guy that you took a shot on, a guy you picked up at the draft for $1 because you had no more money left.
Right.
Those are the type of guys that you want to flip flop until you're lucky to get the right play.
Correct. No, I get that. So real quick, we are finally able to get back to my favorite segment of Joe Knows. We're going back to daily fantasy. I'm not going to lie to you. Basketball is not my thing. I really stunk at basketball. Not going to lie to you. Baseball, on the other hand, I'm very confident with. Football, I crush it. Basketball, I was piecing puzzles together. I would get like, two great guys and a bunch of blah. But tonight, I have my lineup that I'm putting in. I think it's going to be really a really successful lineup.
Is this basketball or baseball?
Baseball. I'm done with basketball. It's a 7:00 start. So we're going to be ending in a few minutes, so you still have time to get it in. So my two pitchers tonight, and I'm expecting two big performances from both of them. One is going to be Rodon from the White Sox going against Cleveland. You could get him for about $6,700, which is a pretty good deal. And then Michael Wacha. Michael Wacha is my sleeper of sleepers this year. I think he is poised to have a great year in Tampa Bay. I feel that pitchers go to Tampa Bay and it's like a rejuvenation. The same reason why I feel we both feel about Chris Archer.
It's the pitching coach.
Yeah. Catcher, I'm going with Yasmani. Catcher, I'm going Yasmani Grandal. First base, I'm going with Cronenworth. Second base, Kiki Hernandez. Third base, Machado. Shortstop, Corey Seager. Excuse me. My outfield is going to be Kevin Pillar, who's going to be getting the start tonight for the Mets. So Dom Smith is coming off the bench. Kevin Pillar, who they signed specifically to go against lefties, is going to be starting in center field for the Mets, which should be coming up just a little bit. I think 7:05 start for the 7:05 start for the Mets. And then Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, who is a monster. Love Yordan. He's a beast. I told you to hold on to Yordan. He's a beast.
I have Yordan and
Yordan is just an absolute monster. Yeah. He really is. The Yankees have already started. All right. 2 quick outs. I'll take it. Take it from Montgomery. But all right. So Ross, we're going to be back Wednesday. We're going to go over, we're going to go over basically we'll recap Monday, Tuesday. We're going to start going over some things, trade analyzation, different tools, different things that we're going to use throughout the season. I'll post me kicking your ass, the first 3 days, just so everyone sees that I am the master. And that's really about it. Yeah.
The drugs are heavy you're taking. They're just
I'm getting married in 5 days. They have to be. Oh man. But all right. For everyone here at the fantasy scene, myself and Ross, we bid you adieu. And guys, I will be also just so you know, a quick announcement. Please make sure you go onto Raw Sports Gear to get all of the gear from all of our shows. Hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, guys. We love doing this for you. The support from the merchandise is going to help us be able to continue to do this, and we really do appreciate everything that you can contribute to us. Also, with Raw Sports, I've opened up the doors to my friends who do podcasts and shows on other days and not conflicting times with ours. So coming up right after this, we have the guys from True to NY Sports, Lou and Boogie. They're going to go over. They specifically go after New York sports, so they'll be on our page as well as all of our stuff. So yeah, just take a look for them. Drop them a comment. Drop them a like. Please make sure to subscribe to our pages. Thank you to our sponsors, Diginary and 10X. We love you guys. We wouldn't be here without you. And Ross, till Wednesday.
Guys, enjoy the game.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Go Yankees. Mets suck.